So, here's what we're doing today, is we're going to be looking at our chicken husbandry, how we care for our chickens. You guys are about to be doing a project in the next couple weeks where you will be designing a chicken coop, researching a bunch of different chicken breeds, and trying to actually sell, make believe, sell a farmer your chicken design, your chicken coop design, and the breeds that you're willing to sell that farmer for based on what that farmer wants, right? And so what I thought would be good is that we go through kind of how we handle the chickens, and how we care for them, so you can kind of see that and take that into your thought process when you design your chicken pen, your chicken coop plans, right? So before we get started though, I do want to point something out. Can anyone look here and tell me, because chicken's already been put away for the day, what might be a mistake? Yes. It's not closed all the way, right? Look at this. So it wouldn't be hard for a chicken to push against it. Now it's heavy, so you might not fully be able to do it. But raccoons, very much, can just easily pull this open. They're pretty strong animals, right? So even though this is kind of hard to close, you have to try to at least get it where it's like this, so it can't open. A raccoon isn't going to be able to do anything with that, right? They might be able to climb up and realize they can push that open, but we have never had that full issue. Until we have that issue, we'll address that. All right, but before we get started, if you look at your notes here, and I do want you guys to write down as you go through this, because you'll use this information for when you create your chicken coop. What do you notice about how we raise chickens versus how the factories raise them from the videos that you all watch? So just take a minute to think about it. Jot something down. What do you notice about how we raise them versus how the factories raise them? Just be one sentence, it doesn't have to be too long. Now, if you can quickly just get into groups of 3, and for 30 seconds, 60 seconds at most, share what you think is different behind how we do it versus how these factories do it.
Okay. So our chickens can be out in nature and experience like enrichment and interact with other living things, while chickens raised in factories kind of have to stay indoors their entire lives and don't have much enrichment.
I wrote that rather than being in like confined spaces and stuck indoors where diseases and it's pretty dirty, here chickens have granted the whole campus and they don't live in like cramped spaces. Like in here is pretty spacious.
I wrote down we raise them like kind of free range because they run around a lot and they're able to go outside instead of just like staying in this cramped space with tons of other chickens.
What? We don't what?
We don't kill our chickens.
We don't. Yeah, we don't. We don't. We don't. So, can anyone tell me, like, what were some points that were made with the whole group? Yes.
There are like machines in the factory.
Okay. Yeah, it's like they're. What do you like? Who's like machines?
Conveyor belts.
The conveyor belts. Okay. Cool. Cool. I like that. What else? Yes.
We let our chickens like have like nature, like
Okay. Feet were touching the ground, right?
Yeah.
Why do you think that matters? Does any of you ever observe the chickens? What are they doing constantly? Exploring, but what else? What do they
They like
usually
to dig in the ground.
They like to dig, right? They're doing this, and then and then they're looking for bugs. You notice it, right? They're looking for things to eat, and then they scratch, and then they're looking for things to eat, right? They also use dirt to clean themselves. You notice over here, we have all these holes along the bricks over there, right? it's called a dust bath. So they like to get in there. If you ever see a chicken on their side and they're just doing a whole lot of this, right, just rolling in it, that's them just cleaning themselves. I can't tell you how many people come to me and they're like, I think something's wrong with the chicken. And like they're freaking out, and it's like, no, this is totally okay. Like they actually use that to clean themselves. You actually see one on their side right now inside there. There's a couple of them, right? They'll lay like that for a little while, and then they'll start moving around, and it's called the dust bath, right? So can anyone tell me though, so it's really easy to knock these factories, right? But why do the factories raise them the way that they do? Yes?
Like the synthesized environment that kind of makes their needs.
So, okay, yeah, because what are these factories trying to get, right? What are they getting?
They're getting eggs.
Eggs, but what do the eggs then bring in for them? Money, right? So they're trying to maximize profit, right? It's not the best situation for the chickens, but they're maximizing profit. So they're putting them in a factory, they're controlling the light, because does anyone know how the eggs come about? What do they need?
Like a certain temperature.
Certain temperature? What else? Sunlight. So they lay eggs based off of how much sunlight we have. So it's one of the reasons why they stop laying eggs in the wintertime when we have very short days. Also, when it's really cold and they have to generate a lot of body heat, it stops them from also laying eggs. So one of the reasons they put them in factories is they can control the temperature and they can control the light, so they get max amount of eggs, right? Again, I'm not very pro this, and something that you all need to think about when you go to the grocery store and you buy eggs, if you see it in an egg box, it says cage free. That doesn't mean free range like we do with our chickens. That could mean a factory, like the videos that you saw, right? So if you're against that, what you want to have is free ranging chickens, right? That's what you want. Or to go to a local farmer and buy eggs from their chickens where you know they're free ranging them, because they get very tricky with the wordage that they put on a lot of these things, because there's a lot that they can say that there's not laws around, right? So they can basically trick you with how they advertise for their chicken eggs. All right, so let's go into here real quick, because I want to show you guys how we do a lot of this stuff in here. So we actually are really close to needing a really good cleaning in here. So be following along right now. So one of the ways that we clean in here is we take First Saturday Lime. All right, so we take this white powder, it's called First Saturday Lime, and First Saturday Lime is totally healthy for you. You do not healthy, but it's not poisonous. You don't need to wear a mask. It's totally safe. This is the actual word I'm looking for. And we lay it on the ground just about that much right here. Just like that. This dries out bugs, it dries out manure, and it helps keep things fresh and clean, okay? The second thing we do as we clean, we lay down a bunch of pine chips right over that area to give a nice fresh bedding. And again, as you can see, based off of what it looks like, they are due for a good clean in here, which we will be doing probably next week, having a nice good clean job in here, okay? The other thing that we need to talk about is food and water. So I'm gonna let people finish writing about that, and then we'll get going. So food and water, we keep the food in this bin, that garbage bin right there. It keeps it nice and fresh, and it keeps the bugs out, it keeps other animals out of it, right? Their food, we always try to keep, especially before a weekend, topped off right here. It comes down at the bottom, so they have full access to food. We never want them to go without food. Because we free range them during the day, they really actually don't eat a lot of food. It takes a while to go through an entire bag of food because they have all this out here to be eating with them during the day. One of the most important things with chickens is fresh, clean water. So yes, we have a big bin right here, and it could take a while for the chickens to drink it, but we have to constantly come in here and keep that clean and fresh, clean the algae off of it. It should be cleaned about once a week is what should be happening to make sure the algae is done. The cool thing about the First Saturday Lime here is that this actually does a great job at cleaning algae. So we take a little bit of this and we mix it in with the water and we scrub, and it literally, you'll see the algae just disappear. It's fascinating. So other things that you need to think about when you're designing your chicken runs and chicken coops is how many chickens you can have in a space. So you all haven't done this research yet, but the average is about 10 to 15 square feet per chicken. So can anyone tell me, how do you calculate the square feet? Or square footage or something? Any fun math people in here? Yes.
Length times width.
Length times width, right? So length times width right here. So you would take, there's two ways you could do it. You could either come out with a ruler, measure a measuring tape, right? And actually measure, or if you want to be like me, it doesn't have to be perfect. You can do what I use my feet, and I just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and I kind of go through and I measure through, right? So this is about 230 square feet, this area. So that means we can have at most about 24 chickens living in this area. We don't really want to go above that because it starts to get really crammed in here, right? It's kind of like the rule with square foot gardens. Is more better or less better? What? More? You want to overcrowd the plants?
Well, no, then less.
Less. So you don't want to overcrowd the plants, right? Same kind of thing with the animals. If you put more animals in here, that means you have to clean more. You have to give more food, all of that, right? So less is always going to be better. More. So when you say more, you might have misunderstood me. More space is always going to be better, right? Always, always, always. So you don't want to cram 25 chickens in here just because that's the most chickens you can put in here. That doesn't mean that's the best life they're going to get. So we don't want to mess with that, okay? So when you're coming to chickens, when you're in something like this, you need to have a big enough coop to be able to handle that many chickens. All right, this is a pretty good sized coop. If you guys want to come in here so you can see this, you need to have an area that is a nesting box. So the nesting box here, the nesting box, you want it to be about 12 inches by 12 inches. And you want to have a good amount of nesting boxes. What you will notice though is the chickens will always lay in the same nesting box. There's like two. They usually pick over here, they pick over here, and those are the nesting boxes that they lay in, right? And they'll keep laying in the same box over and over again. But you want to have enough for them just in case.
Is that why like those two look like a little bit more something?
I think so, because they're constantly laying in it, where this is, look how puffy this is, right? And this is like flat down. Now you're absolutely right. I love that you noticed that. That's really good. And the same is kind of over here too, because they're always in it and it's putting their weight on it. So you want to have a nice dry place for them. So animals, all animals have this general rule. They can be wet and they can be cold, but they cannot be wet and cold, okay? So having a good coop keeps that from happening. When it's really cold out, what you never want to do is you never want to put water inside a coop. Water should always be on the outside, because if you put water inside a coop, it can create frostbite. So you never, never, never want to do that. Now, I kind of want to show you some things that we have to kind of handle with our chickens to make sure that they're healthy. So I'm going to try to catch one. Oh, got it. Oh, it's up. All right, mamas. So, something that we've had to do in the past, when you're looking at chickens for health-wise, you really want to make sure, like, I don't know why it's a little white right there, I'm going to be honest with you, but I don't think it's anything bad. You want to make sure their comb is a nice reddish pink color, right? You want to always kind of check them for mites, and I don't see any mites on this one. Right here, if you guys do the anatomy lesson, this is called their crop. So a crop is actually where they store food. If you ever have baby chickens, you'll notice it happens a lot with them, or they just have this big mass that all of a sudden comes out. You've seen it before, comes out of their chest. And it's kind of terrifying the first time you ever see it. Like when the first time I saw it, I thought my chickens had like a tumor or something, right? But it's actually a crop, and it's where they store food so they don't eat too much and get sick from it. right? So you kind of like, so if you notice something like that, there might be an issue, right? So you just kind of want to always check it. One of the biggest things I've seen with chickens